11, Trips and Traps. Once again, Andy Serling, Eric Donovan.
3 more races to get to, and we're still on the subject of February 6th. We're looking at race number 7 here, and this was kind of a race that the theme of the race seemed to be stretch outs, horses trying roots for the first time. There were 3 horses in this maiden race that were bet down to a couple favorites and then a couple medium-priced horses. We're going to take a look at the 7-horse Monte Carlo. Though one of these horses stretching out in distance, you see the jockey bouncing up and down in the saddle right after the start. Some trouble in tight a little bit after the gates open.
Yeah, Monte Carlo to me had a nightmarish trip, and you'll see him continue wide. Also driven by Solar, who's going to lead number 6 here, and Magical Devotion is the 9. All of these horses are probably they're the best horse in the race. Magical Devotion, driven by Solar, are the fastest horses, at least sprinting in this race, but all of them are being asked to go long. Magical Devotion is back towards the middle of the pack, back of the pack, actually a little bit wide. Of course, outside of him, in those sort of whitish purple silks of the Purple Star, you continue to see Monte Carlo, who's just had a nightmare trip, but also Big Gavel in this race, who I thought ran actually very well, because he's one of the ones who's on the pace. Now, the winner's right inside of him, but he's relaxed sort of well off it, while Big Gavel's outside of him, and Big Gavel rushes up while the eventual winner actually waits.
Yeah, you can see those horses definitely compromising. You see Big Gavel come up there 3 wide, and you still see Monte Carlo all the way in the back and about the 5 path out there. So, both these horses not getting good setups while racing wide. That's going to come in key when they go around the turn, because they're going to start to lose, more ground when they get in the turn here. And you just see the way the race generally sets up here. Big Gavel makes this move and to get the lead here, and you see the 5-horse Anze and Steady a little bit, but I have to think he was a spent product at this point. And the 6, driven by Solar, who's got the experience sprinting and no routing, that's going to catch up with them here too. And you still see Monte Carlo stuck out in about the 4 or 5 path.
Right, Monte Carlo's out wide, and also Magical Devotion was chasing wide the whole way. And this was a race, if you look at it, that especially for this group of horses, they were maiden specials, but they're not. They're New York bred, early 3-year-olds. This was a fast-paced race, and you can see the second finisher in the green silks making a big late run in there, and the winner had the absolute perfect trip. Magical Devotion, I still don't think he wants to go this far, because he never has any closing punch in this race. He needs a turn back. Driven by Solar probably needs a turn back. Monte Carlo needs a better trip, and maybe he wants a turn back, but who knows what Monte Carlo wants. Monte Carlo is a horse who has really dirty form. He had a monstrously tough trip in his debut and ran nowhere. He took real money in this race. I think he ended up 6-1, but he was in the 7-2, 4-1 range for much of the betting, and Monte Carlo's never had a fair chance to run. We don't know for sure that he can run, but never a chance. Monte Carlo is the one I'm looking to bet out of this race, but I'm also looking for turnbacks from Driven by Solar and Magical Devotion.
Yeah, I'd be a little suspect of Driven by Solar and Magical Devotion, thinking they're probably going to take some more money than a horse like Monte Carlo would on the turnback. So if all 3 of those met in a sprint race next time out, I'd be looking to bet Monte Carlo way more than Driven by Solar or Magical Devotion.
I agree. He's the one with the buried form. The other 2 are exposed. Magical Devotion is sort of a hard luck horse. He's run 3 races. In a certain way, could have won all 3 of them. Certainly could have won the first 2 and hasn't gotten it done. Problem with those horses is you can't chase them for too long at short prices. Let's move on for our last race from February 6th.
It'll be race number 8, the Rough Rogue Overnight Stakes for New York breds, 4-year-olds and up, going 1 mile and 70 yards. A 6-horse field in here. We're looking at the 4 Dr. DFC, who breaks a little bit slowly here, and the 7 Our Clear Victory, who, going into the race, you would have to think that he was going to be no worse than maybe a length off the leader if someone wanted to go fast out of the gate, but that's not the case here with Our Clear Victory today, who has to come from off the pace.
Yeah, no question. Now, first of all, Dr. DFC, a horse coming off a layoff who really improved at Saratoga, he has the trouble to start and ends up back to last in what turns into an absolute crawl fest in the lead. Now, big hand to Rajiv Mirage, who rides the winner, Manteca, here, because if they had betting on who would be the leader going the backstretch, Manteca would have been one of the long shots in this race, while being one of the favorites to win the race. And Our Clear Victory, a horse, and you can see Stop Bluffing steadying inside, but you see Dr. DFC, who was so far back. I give Malin Studer credit, to be honest. Even though this is a move that can't win the race, she sensed the lack of pace, and at least she did something about it from her position. While Our Clear Victory, he's back in 5th, 2.5 lengths off, and they went virtually 25-50 here. I think they went 25 flat, 49-2. How can Our Clear Victory be in the position he's in? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. A preposterous spot for him to be in, considering the way the race looked on paper going in. Like you said, you have to give a lot of credit to Rajiv Mirage, who just sent the winner out of there, Manteca, and established his position on the front end. Giant Moon did a little bit of chasing down inside. Here you see the 7 Our Clear Victory start to make his move around the turn. But you know what? With the horse like MONTE on the front end, who's had everything his own way so far, this isn't going to be an easy move. And you still see the number 4 horse, Dr. DFC, giving a go at it too, just in front of him.
No question. And it's funny, Giant Moon is 4th now on the inside. And Giant Moon was a very promising New York bred 3-year-old for Rick Schosberg last year. This was his first start since, I think, the Preakness, actually. And he ran an interesting race. I mean, he has the speed to have gone also. But, you know, he's just off a layoff. Maybe they didn't want to set him that hard. And he looked to be dropping completely out of the race in the turn. And I was thinking, oh, God, poor Giant Moon, he can't run anymore. And he makes another run back in the race. And you see MONTE drifting a little bit. He tries to go outside of him. He ducks inside of him. Giant Moon going forward probably has the most room to go forward. Though I think MONTE, even though he had everything go his own way in this race,
he's pretty good.
He's a good horse, no question about it. But Dr. DFC, he's the one I want to bet next time he runs.
Yeah, Dr. DFC. I think he hadn't run since October, actually, and he had a tough 2008 campaign, some strong races up at Saratoga. He might have needed a little bit of a freshening that he got second back off the layoff next time out. And he's better around 2 turns, too. He didn't run too good a couple times at Belmont, so this was a good freshening for Dr. DFC. We'll see what could happen with him a little bit later on down the road. One more race for Trips and Traps, and this is on February 7th. We'll move on now and go to race number 6. This is a maiden special weight. 3-year-olds going a mile. The 7-horse HAYLEY'S Victory is our interest horse here.
Yeah, I think HAYLEY'S Victory is a horse that we're going to make some money with down the road. And Eric and I have a little disagreement. This is number 7, HAYLEY'S Victory. And the riders asked him a little at the start. He just doesn't really have the big speed in this race. And what's interesting about this race is the eventual second-place finisher is Futuristic, is towards the inside on the lead. And the winner is Haitian Sensation, who's now moved into second, who's the big favorite. We see HAYLEY'S Victory blowing the turn. And don't forget, not only is he wide, 5-6 wide there, never gets inside the 4-path. This race was dominated on the front end.
23 and 448 with the fractions, which is, I guess, a little bit better than average for these type of horses. But still, the way the race unfolded, you have to say that it was a race where the closers were up against it. Just seeing as how the 1-2 finishers are just going to exchange their places in the stretch and go on with it here. But we see the 7-horse HAYLEY'S Victory still kind of out in no man's land. You know, having to make a little bit of a move to catch up with this pack of horses. Still kind of wide as well. So just a trip that's just not going to go well for HAYLEY'S Victory. HAYLEY'S Victory is going to have to do a ton of running from here to get anything in the stretch.
No question about it. And you know, there's something about the inner. While we've had an even track for almost the entire meet here, not the kind of inside bias, these 2-turn races on the inner, it's still very valuable to try to save ground or have position. Being stuck, marooned out in the outside, it's just never going to work. And poor HAYLEY'S Victory, this is the 2nd time in a row he's had a trip, almost a carbon copy. Now, maybe he's a horse having some trouble taking the turns, perhaps we'd be better off maybe seeing him in a mile on the main track. But it would also be nice for him if he drew an inside post. You know, we were just looking at the PPs, and there's HAYLEY'S Victory, still on the outside. And he finishes nowhere in here, but I still think he did some running. He's not that far out of it into the stretch. He was a $28,000 2-year-old purchase. Trainer Tom Albertrani must have some confidence in this horse, and he continues to run him in maiden special weights, whether it's the grass or dirt. So he must think he can run a little bit, but you know what? $28,000 2-year-olds can still run for $35,000 or $40,000. If they win, if they get claimed, they've still made money. And HAYLEY'S Victory, I'd love to see him drop maiden claimer first time.
Yeah, I mean, if he runs back in a special weight, he's going to need things to break his way. He's going to need to get a trip. He's going to need to meet the right kind of field and get the right kind of pace scenario to get the W. Whereas if he goes in for the maiden claimer, it might not be that tough to get the win.
I agree. I would love to see a maiden claimer. I don't need the rail or 2 post. I'll take the 5 post.
Don't get greedy here.
HAYLEY'S Victory, I think we're going to get the cash with him. Hopefully we'll get the cash with some others we saw here or any other horse you bet. That does it for this week's Trips and Traps. And please, of course, the emails, tripsandtraps@NYRInc.com. Keep the emails coming. We love getting them. We'll see you next week, but it won't be until Thursday because we're not racing Wednesday. Thursday, February 19th, I believe, or 20th.
19th, yeah.
Good. Okay, we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.